Hello students, it's a very big hello from me, and I hope that my message to you finds you well, and I hope that also your family and relations are also keeping well during these difficult times when we're apart from each other. You'll be working hard at home, and thank you very much for all that you're doing at home in keeping up with your studies. I know that the teachers here and other staff are working very hard to make sure that you have everything you need in order to be able to keep up with your learning, and I hope it's going well for you. It's not perfect what we're trying to do here working remotely, but I really hope that you're managing to get stuck into the various activities and tasks that your teachers are setting you each day, and that you're managing to keep up with things. Don't worry if you can't do everything. It isn't going to be perfect, and the things that you don't won't necessarily be perfect, but do just try to do your very, very best. And don't worry too much if things are a bit difficult at times. I thought it'd be nice just to have a conversation with you and just to share some of my thoughts and reflections whilst we've been away from each other for so long. And one of those is thinking about things that are new but perhaps have old memories. And one of those is the word Zoom. And for us, we're all getting expert at Zoom and meeting up with our friends and families online. But for me, Zoom has an old memory of when I was a boy. It was a word used in comics when people used to move around quickly. But perhaps most strongly in my memory is the memory of the lollipop, the Zoom lolly. And I'm sure many of your parents will remember this lolly. It's a shame it's still not around these days, or at least I don't believe it is still around these days. But it's funny how things that are old suddenly become new. And one thing I would just like to point out to you is that lots and lots of the things that are happening at the moment are going to be wonderful memories for you in the future. It may feel like difficult times at the moment and things aren't always going your way. But as you grow up, your children and grandchildren will be very interested to hear about the experience of life through the coronavirus. And I hope some of the memories that you have now are ones that will stay with you throughout your life. So do think about the things that are happening to you. Reflect on what life's like, what's happening on the telly and in the news, and how things are for you and your family, because those will be powerful and strong memories for you as you go through life. And I hope they're good memories for you. And thinking about old, none of you, I'm sure, will have missed on the extraordinary efforts of Captain Tom. I think Colonel Tom now, actually, to give him his proper title. But Captain Tom, who at 99, just tipping into 100 years of age, has managed to raise over £30 million for the NHS. What a remarkable effort from a fine and elderly gentleman. And I think the message from him is one of just doing your best. What can you do that's going to make a difference? How can you make a contribution? And can you think about other people as you go? And I hope the message of Captain Tom is something that you can think about. I mentioned with your studies, are you managing to do your best? Are you trying as hard as you possibly can? And particularly at this time when we're spending lots of time at home, are you able to think about other people and think about helping others around the house? And I know that your efforts in all of that will be greatly appreciated by your parents. So have a little think about that. Captain Tom, what an inspiration to us all. There were very quiet celebrations for the 75th anniversary of VE Day. You may have seen things on the news, that anniversary of the ending of the Second World War. And you might have seen flags and things and bunting up and around your local towns and villages to commemorate that. And obviously a very difficult time for the people of that generation, your grandparents or great-grandparents who were perhaps involved in the war, or at least had felt the effects of it as they were growing up through their lives. And one of the stories, apart from just the fact that the war had finished, was a story I saw on the news about the children who were evacuated from the big cities, particularly places like London, to avoid the bombings. And you'll see in the picture here a fairly typical photo of young children, sort of primary school age, who were sent from their family homes out into the countryside to stay safe. And I was thinking when I heard this story about the news we got when schools were going to close back in March, and we were shocked. We had 2 days notice that school was going to close and that we would be staying at home and that learning would continue that way. And I thought about these evacuee children, many of whom would have perhaps had the same amount of notice, not just been told to stay at home, but actually that they were going to be sent away from home and sent away from their parents. And in some cases, this went on for a number of years for them, not seeing their parents through their very young ages, a sort of primary school age. And my reflection is that that generation absolutely survived, and not only did they survive the war and survive their evacuation years, but they then gone on to thrive. And you'll know how successful your great-grandparents and your grandparents have been in your lives. And I hope this sends you a message of hope that however difficult the times are at the moment, that we will be okay and that things will get better, and whatever the circumstances you have at the moment, just at home or with your studies, that actually you're going to actually be okay in the long run. So coming back to my message, do try your best, but don't worry too much if things aren't always going your way. And from terrible things like the Second World War, one of the things that came about was the NHS. And you'll have seen the adoption of the rainbow for support for the NHS, and I hope you're taking part in the regular Thursday round of applause in the evening outside of your homes, banging your saucepans, making as much noise as you can to show your generosity and support from those. So out of bad things, actually sometimes good things come, and the NHS arose out of the ends of the Second World War. So I'm hoping that, even though we're in difficult times, some better things will come for us. I hope we'll end up being a kinder people, that will think more of each other as we start to get back into normal life. We'll be more thoughtful about the needs of others and more considerate. We'll appreciate all of those things that perhaps we've taken for granted, like coming to school, like having an education, even like the ability to sit an exam. And I know Year 11s have felt very upset that that opportunity has been taken away from them. So some of those things that we take for granted, I'm hoping very much that when we return to normal, we won't lose sight of those and we'll forget and we'll remember some of those. Time with family, a lot more time. I'm hoping you're enjoying that. More time perhaps to sit and chat, have meals together, play games, spend time outside. We've been lucky with the weather, so I hope all of those are things that you're able to do. And through it, we'll actually become more resilient and we'll become much stronger. And you'll know that we spend a lot of time thinking here and talking to you about character and about how important it is that not only do you, through your education, end up with great qualifications, but that you also end up being a great person, that you're someone who it's good to know and live next door to, you'll be wonderful to work with, and you'll be a great partner and a great parent. And I hope through all these challenges we've got at the moment that you'll come to appreciate, most of all, just how resilient and strong you are. And when you've got through all of this, you'll be able to appreciate your capacity to do well. And you're working on your own at home a lot at the moment, and I know that's a challenge and it can be difficult at times, but I hope it gives you a lot of independence, a sense of being independent and being able to do things and being capable, solving problems when you've got difficulties, and actually still being able to thrive and survive. And those of you who go on into apprenticeships and off to university and into the wider world, I hope one of the things you learn from these days is actually you can get on with things, you can be successful, and you can keep going with things. So I'm going to wind things up there. There's news, of course, at the moment about schools reopening, and for Year 10s, I'm in contact with your parents, starting those conversations about thoughts about returning to school, and I'll be in contact with them more in the coming days and weeks as we start to think about what that potentially could look like here in school. Years 7, 8 and 9 students, no news about your return yet. I hope there might be something that emerges in the coming weeks, but we'll have to wait and see about that. But in the meantime, please keep working hard, and please keep being nice at home and thoughtful, and very much looking forward to when we can have you back in the school again. It's not the same place without you, and I miss you all terribly. So take care and see you soon. Bye now.